Hey everybody, this is Liz Larson from The Art of Frosting, and I wanted to let you know that our book has finally arrived. It's here. How to Build a Cake Business in 90 Days is finally available on our website, cakedecoratinginstructor.com. So here in this video, I want to share with you something we found in our archives. It's a full tutorial that I think never got released in its full version. Maybe in a quick version on YouTube, but never this way. So here it is for you. If you're interested in picking up our book, come to cakedecoratinginstructor.com. Also, our full course is there as well. See y'all there. Enjoy the video. Hi, I'm Liz with The Art of Frosting.
And I'm Leah with Leah's Crazy Cake Lab.
And together we are the Cake Decorating Instructor, the Cake Academy. So we want you to know that it's grad season wherever we are in the world at the moment. And it's fun to have some interesting and fun designs. This is one of Leah's that she used all the time in the shop, and it's super cute.
Yeah, I really like this one. It's adorable, and you can use it as this big cake, or you can have little mini cakes that are the owls, and you can just use the owl as a cake in itself, and it's still really cute.
Yeah, this cake is a size 10 and a size 6, but it really can be done in any size. And we want you to know that's actually pretty easy. You do need a couple of skills. You need to, for this one, know how to stack a cake, as well as how to do about that much cake sculpting. We're just starting with some black candy melt. I just wanted to show you the bag so you know what I'm using. Get a lot of questions about that. I have a 4x4 piece of cardboard that I have cut out in advance. Pros, keep this on hand, save it so that you can do this again and again. Another thing is make these up in advance. If you're going to do many of them, just stack them with parchment in between in a cool place, and that way you will have them when you need them. So basically you're just going to pour your candy melt out onto your square. And the reason I have marked it, you don't have to do that, but it's very deceiving how big this actually is on paper. So I like to just have it so I know that I'm at least bigger than the mark. You can, if you're not using permanent marker, or even if you are, turn the paper over. If I turn it over, you're not going to be able to see it. So turn it over so you don't get it on your candy melt. So I like to just spread it out evenly and then use my larger bench knife just to get a flatter surface. Now we're probably going to use the back side of this and not the top, but you still want a pretty flat surface. Okay, set this aside, let it cool just enough so we can cut it out. So this is just firmed up just enough to touch, and I'm just going to use my board as a stencil and basically just score it. Just like this. Now, even if you're doing it at home, you might want to make a couple of these just to make sure it doesn't break on you, because it's chocolate and they do break. So put that aside, or in the fridge. You want to let it cool completely. I'm going to make a scroll to go next to my owl, and I'm just showing you I'm using white candy melt, or white chocolate works for this too, as long as it's tempered. I'm using my 4x4 little template again, really comes in handy, so that I can get my scroll to be about that same size. I'm going to make a couple of round, kind of, well, they're not really round, they're a little more oval for the paper or scroll part. And then I'm just going to come on the inside of that. Now this I do have turned upside down so that this ink does not go onto my white. And it's okay if it's not perfectly straight. In fact, a little curving is going to kind of add to the idea that it's a scroll. And then you just want to fill in. You want to let this flow. It's a good idea to have really warm candy melt for this, because the better, the warmer it is, the easier it'll flow and spread for you. And two things, you can either use, just a little palette knife or anything to spread it. You can also use a skewer technique if you've seen us do that before as well. Just make sure it's nice and even, and again, you don't want this to be too thin. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this over when we're done so we'll have a nice smooth opposite side. So I'm just going to prepare the cake to have the garlands put on. And this is a really good way to mark for garlands. You just mark half and half again. So I'm just going to use this mark and that mark. You can actually mark in between too if you want to. In fact, I'll show you how to do that too. And that way you know where your garlands need to be and how many you can have. Another way to do that is to use a marking tool like this. And so if you're going to use this, you would mark right in between these lines, like so. And that gives you a gap in between with this. There's lots of ways to do it, but these are just a few. This is just a tool. You can actually use the side of a cup for this, the end of a paper towel roll. So just any way you want to mark this. So for these garlands, I'm using a number 124 rose tip. Now normally we would use it this way with the edge of the tip down, but I want these to look like drapes, so I'm actually going to use it with the fat part down. So I created a gap on either side, and that way I can kind of start way far on the outside, and you're just going to evenly squeeze and back up. Now what you're going to do with this is you're going to make layers and layers, and the fat end looks a little more like a drape of fabric. Okay, so now that I've got my large garlands all the way around, I'm going to come in between and actually overlap on top just a little and create my middle garlands. So I'm getting ready to build my owl, and I just want you to see this is stacked and filled. It is 2 full layer 6-inch rounds, split and filled. So I just wanted to show you what it looks like beforehand. And I'm going to quickly ice it in some chocolate icing with my quick icer. The chocolate icing is just pastry pride and some ganache mixed together. Now if you're using buttercream, you can actually make a quick chocolate buttercream by adding some unsweetened melted chocolate. 1 square for light chocolate, 2 squares for a darker. And this is just about a 1/4 cup of chocolate chips mixed in with the pastry pride, of course melted, and it makes a really yummy chocolate frosting. Or you can just make this brown if your bird doesn't happen to be chocolate based. You can see I have a wooden dowel down through because I'm placing this on top of another cake. It needs to be secure and stable. Now you may have noticed that the top of this cake wasn't quite level when we started, and that was okay because we kind of want it to be at a little bit of an angle for the hat, but also we are going to round these edges. Now this is Leah's basic sculpted cake technique. Just round the edges like that, like so. And then you're going to end up at the edge of a Ziploc bag, or this is the edge of parfait strip, and just gently round the edges just like so. And that creates a nice round head for our owl. An offset spatula, and get it under, I'll try to get it under our cake, and use that to move our cake over. The stick on top really helps. Lots of times this cake will be done without putting it on top of another cake, but I just wanted to show you how we were doing it. This cake is of course doweled underneath. Don't even try to do it without it. This top cake's heavy, and this one's going to pierce down through to make sure that this cake can't slide off.
So I'm just marking with my skewer where I want the blue belly to be.
It's just up a little more than halfway up the cake. You want to leave plenty of room at the very top for your really cute eyeballs.
So now I'm just taking a writing tip. This is a size 6. And I've got my babyish blue. And I'm just doing little upside down shells for the feathers, for the tummy.
it kind of has a little teardrop effect, and Leah's doing it really quickly, but it's really just a heavier squeeze and a release to get that little point at the top. But she really wants that little fat teardrop look at the bottom. It adds to the kind of cartoony look of the owl. And they're just layered one on top of each other, probably a little more than halfway down on top of each little teardrop, just kind of getting a little feather effect. You can see that she's angling it outward just a little bit on the sides to kind of give the border and to cover your line, of course. And at the top, you can see that she's blending them into each other. Turn that towards us, Leah, so we can see. Cute.
So now I'm moving on to the eyes for the owl. And so they're really, really, really large. Now, my icing is a little bit rough right now, so I'm going to smooth it with our handy dandy parfait strip or Ziploc bag. But the shape of the eyes are oval and big and cartoony. And I kind of angled them outwards so they kind of lean into each other. Alright, so now I'm smoothing. And I'm using this to also shape and make sure that they're the same size.
So now we're just adding the same shape as this, just a little bigger. And I've got just a slightly larger writing tip. I think this is an 8. And I'm just going to do a little just slightly larger than Leah did, just right on top. And we're angling them in like this. And it's just a little bit of chest feathers coming up to where his beak's going to be. Kind of cute. And also kind of some bangs, the same thing. Same shape, just a little bit bigger. Just piling on kind of on top of each other like this. And then it's going to be covered by, the top part's going to be covered by its cap, so you don't have to worry too much about finishing the edge.
Now I'm just doing the beak with my orange, so I'm just using a round tip and then I'm pulling out and down, but that didn't work because my icing's stiff. So just pull out and come down to a point. There we go. And then I just want to do kind of the same thing with the claws. So they're just right in front. And then I'm going to do one, kind of a shell, but lift up a little more, 2 and 3 on top. So I'll do it again right here. 1, 2, 3 on top. So now I'm just doing a border around. So we're doing the same technique that we did with the tummy, and just kind of a teardrop shape around. So now I'm just adding the black eyeballs on. And remember that the eyeballs are about 2/3 of the size of the, the pupils, sorry, are about 2/3 of the size of the eyeball. Smooth it out with a spatula. Oopsie. So I'm just making the outline of the eyeball and then filling it in with the black.
We're just using black icing, or you could use black piping gel as well.
So now I'm just coming in with the same figure piping tip as I used to make the eyeballs. And I'm just making their little eye shine. So I just do one and then a small one up. And then one and then a small one up. So now I'm just doing the cap. I'm starting at the eyeball right here, and I'm just keeping my hand in one place and turning the turntable. And make sure you have a steady line and your lines are even on each side. Then I'm just going to fill in with the black icing. And then you just smooth out with your spatula or your handy dandy parfait strip or your Ziploc bag. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're putting the cap on the top.
You have a hole.
So now we're coming back to our 4-inch square here, and we're just placing the cap on a little bit towards the back and just press down without breaking it, so just be very gentle. And the cap kind of comes up a little bit. So just be very, very gentle, maybe hold it down a little, get it down as far as you can. Make sure it stays. Okay, so I put the black button on the top in the middle of the tassel. And I have a figure piping tip with the blue here. So you just make a big knot right here. And then you drag and drop your tassel. So pull it up and to the middle. And then you just pull and release to make the tassels, the end of the tassel.
Okay, so I've got some black candy melt here and just the tip cut out. And I'm just going to use a very careful drop. Now you can do this with icing if you want to, or you could do it with even a little bit of piping gel. This is nice because it dries on there and you don't have to worry about any smearing when you put it down onto your cake. So you're just using a drop line just to create a little bit of an outline here. And then just make sure this is nice and dry before you move it so you don't smear it. It really should only take a few minutes. Now I'm going to cut just a tiny bit larger, and we're going to write our congratulations on here. Now make sure you're spelling it right. One thing I like to do is say it out loud because then I know I'm spelling it right. So we're going to write congrats, not congratulations, because it's a little too big. Okay, her name is Alejandra, so we're going to have to fit this in. Nice, tall, thin letters. A, L, E, J, A, N, D, R, A. We did it, and a little exclamation point, and a little heart over the J.
So the wings are also kind of a teardrop shape, so I can actually just take my skewer here and mark out where the wings are going to be. So I just make little ones, and then I'm doing the same technique as I did with everything else that had to do with the feathers. So just a teardrop shape.
You notice Leah had to change angle. You have to be extremely careful because you're right over the top of the hat. And just repeat on the opposite side. Make sure they match, kind of measure twice, pipe once. So we're just placing the placard and gently putting it on the front. This is a big one because of the name was long, so making it much smaller wasn't going to work. So make sure it's really attached to the cake so that it can't fall off in delivery. That means making sure enough of the back of it is actually touching the cake to hold it on. And there you go. Pretty cute. So this was fun, and we think it turned out really, really cute. So there's tons of things you can do with this cake. If you're putting it on a base, you can add flowers, you can add other school colors, you can add color to the eyes, you can make the cap a different color if you want to. So lots of options. Give it a try. Don't forget to send us a picture. Where, Leah?
At our Facebook at The Art of Frosting or at cakedecoratinginstructor.com.
Thanks for joining us for this tutorial, and don't forget to join us at cakedecoratinginstructor.com, where our website is new, improved, and beautiful, and has the download of this ebook, How to Build a Cake Business in 90 Days, as well as our full cake decorating course. Join us there. See you soon.